Right now on Morning News Now, rained out. Those 4th of July fireworks fuses looked a little soggy in some states. Yet another round of serious summer storms causing chaos at celebrations nationwide. That includes right here in NYC, where the massive system was caught on camera passing through after Saturday's big event. And the mess is not over yet. Your full forecast in a moment. That weather stirring up some hectic conditions for the millions of Americans heading back home today after a wild few days of disruptions. What you need to know before you go. And even after hours of weather delays, President Trump took the late night stage in D.C. for a sprawling keynote address that ranged from inclusive to divisive.
Americans will never let anyone take our freedom away. And all these talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country.
More from Washington as the commander-in-chief gears up for a pivotal NATO summit. Plus, how the White House's new plan to repair the reflecting pool is raising eyebrows. And after an explosive holiday weekend that brought us fireworks and burnouts on the pitch, tonight the American men look for another win. Will Flo Balogun's controversial 11th hour return to the lineup prove to be the spark they need to take down Belgium? Our analyst weighs in. Good Monday morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. We begin this hour with Mother Nature's fireworks still lingering in the sky after the 4th of July. Right now, another round of severe weather is making its way across the country. Heavy rain caused flash flooding in the eastern and central parts of the country overnight. Well, in Wisconsin, a surveillance camera captured powerful winds topping 100 miles an hour. Those powerful gusts ripping apart the yard at a hotel in the southern part of the state. And in Oklahoma, crews are out this morning trying to repair power lines that were snapped in half by 90-mile-an-hour winds. This comes after the volatile weather impacted a number of July 4th celebrations, in many cases delaying or canceling the festivities, like on the National Mall in Washington, where strong storms forced thousands of people to seek shelter right before the fireworks started. Here in New York, storms in the forecast later today could dump 2 to 3 inches of rain an hour. That could cause even more flash flooding. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin is in hard-hit Paramus, New Jersey, and has the latest. Aaron, good morning.
Hey there, folks across the country are waking up to a real mess after a weekend of extreme heat and severe storms. Overnight, serious summer systems slammed the Northeast, threatening Monday commutes for millions and triggering ground stops and mounting delays at airports nationwide. Hundreds of thousands without power across the country. The big issue today is the water. Here in New York City, heavy downpours could dump 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. And that threat expands well beyond the Big Apple. 61 million across 10 states are under a flood alert this morning. It caps off a hazardous 250th 4th of July weekend. In D.C., heavy rain delayed President Trump's Saturday speech and the fireworks on the National Mall, which later triggered major air quality issues. Here in New York City, the Macy's show had to be moved up to beat the weather, and the pyrotechnics actually sparked a brief fire on the Brooklyn Bridge. Meanwhile, Oklahoma saw 92-mile-per-hour winds, all on the heels of a deadly scorcher with at least 25 suspected heat deaths nationwide. Now, officials here in the Northeast are concerned about the possibility of flash flooding throughout the day. If you are driving out on the roads and see a road covered with water, do not drive through it. You just don't know how deep that water is. That's an important tip as folks are heading home after that big weekend. Back to you.
Some important advice there, Aaron. Thank you so much. For more on the weather that is hitting your area, let's check in with meteorologist Rafael Miranda, who has the soggy forecast. Raf, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, the extreme heat last week, now flooding. It's just a very active weather pattern over the past several days, including right now, of course, a busy travel day after the holiday weekend. And we have exactly what we don't need here. Heavy rain across the Northeast, the I-95 corridor, dealing with potential flash flooding today. You could see 61 million people impacted with that flooding potential, a flood watch in effect from southern New England down towards Philadelphia, New York City, and Washington, D.C. The heaviest rain right now has been to the north of New York City and to the east as well. It looks like it's going to stay there throughout much of the day, and that's where we have that moderate risk. You see this red color here from New York City stretching into coastal Connecticut, Long Island, and southern New England. That's the best chance of seeing flash flooding during the day today and significant travel impacts there. But even in New York City down towards Philly, we could see some more flash flooding with very heavy rainfall rates. Here's the culprit. It's a stationary front, not going anywhere as you would expect with a stationary front, and low pressure along that providing enough fuel for these showers through the day today. Tomorrow, this front does sag to the south, and that's where the heaviest rain goes as well. So maybe a shower or two lingering in the northeast. But today, by far, the worst of the two weather days. Several inches of rain possible. And again, we get these tropical downpours, rainfall rates of 1 to 2, even 2 to 3 inches per hour. That causes that urban flooding that we're concerned with today. Rain across the southeast as well. Again, a big travel day. Lots of highways could be impacted by that flooding and ponding, and just difficult travel conditions all across the southeast as well with rain and storms. It's really out west where things are much quieter. As far as air travel, also could be impacted. We're not only expecting heavy rain, thunderstorms, which could really snarl things here across the northeast today. The big airports, New York City, Philly, and D.C., all watching for delays as the day goes on. Now, the heat is out west. The extreme heat that we've had here in the northeast taking a break for now. Temperatures in the 70s, but the southeast and also the desert southwest really sizzling over the next several days. You can see temperatures well over 100 degrees. This is our southwest sweat today and tomorrow as well. More of the same triple-digit temperatures from Phoenix to St. George. And this continues to be the trend in the southwest. This is where the heat is for the next several days. Again, here in the northeast, even though it's raining and causing difficulties, we're enjoying those temperatures back down to the 70s after that very intense heat wave that we just broke finally in New York City. As we head throughout the week, temperatures rebound back to the low 80s here, watching some stormy weather for the middle of the week in the upper Midwest, and the Southwest just bakes with temperatures well over 100 degrees. Here's a look at your forecast by the end of the week. A little bit unsettled here in the Northeast, some scattered storms there, and you can see above average temperatures continue in the Southwest. All right, that's a look at your forecast. Joe?
All right, the West Coast can have the heat for now, right? Let them have it. Raph, thank you so much. As he mentioned, that severe weather coupled with the dangerous heat is creating some holiday travel headaches this morning. Millions of Americans are still trying to get home after widespread disruptions yesterday. Airports and highways are expected to remain especially busy today. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa joins us now from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Maggie, good morning.
Hey there, good morning from the home stretch of this record-smashing holiday weekend, and clearly it looks like it is a packed morning here at O'Hare. This is the general boarding line behind me. I have never truly seen it this long. By the way, TSA had already predicted, and the FAA as well, that this would be the busiest 4th of July weekend in more than 15 years. Obviously, Mother Nature, severe weather not making it easy. Even without that, yesterday, TSA projected 2.9 million people would pass through their security checkpoints. Today is expected to be even busier. We are already seeing hundreds of delays and cancellations nationwide, and obviously it's early. Those numbers will keep ticking up. This after close to 10,000 delays nationwide yesterday. Both the FAA and TSA reminding flyers to get to the airport early, at least 2 hours early for domestic flights, check their flight status ahead of time, and download your airline's app to rebook if needed. Now, for those hitting the road, some 61 million Americans, experts recommend getting out early in the morning, basically as soon as you can, to beat the traffic. Some good news for your wallets. As of today, the average price for a gallon of regular gasoline is $3.80, according to AAA. That's down almost 50 cents in the last month. The lowest averages in Indiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. So if you're passing through those states, definitely a good day to fuel up. If you're heading to the airports, again, get here early and good luck, guys.
All right, Maggie, thank you so much. President Trump heading to Turkey later today for a high-stakes NATO summit. Follows a weekend of chaotic celebrations marking America's 250th anniversary. Saturday's July 4th event on the National Mall was hit by severe weather that forced thousands to flee for cover, delaying the program. Hours later, the president finally managed to deliver an address that veered from political to patriotic.
For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and that glory among all of the nations of the world. And all these talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country.
NBC News politics reporter Megan Brand joins us now to talk more about the headlines out of Washington. Megan, good morning. I know you were there on the ground for this event. Just walk us through how the whole weather evacuation unfolded and then what we did finally hear from the president when he took the stage.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, right around the time that the event was supposed to ultimately kick off, organizers announced that it would have to be delayed. People would have to evacuate because of the weather. We could see dark clouds and lightning rolling in over the White House toward the Washington Monument where this event was taking place, and people had to seek shelter in buildings nearby. Now, people who our team spoke with seemed pretty determined, though, to wait it out, to try to see if the event would resume. Many of them had traveled in from outside of D.C. specifically to try to attend this event. Now, about 2 hours later, organizers had announced that people could start to head back to the event, that it would resume. Ultimately, President Trump did take the stage, and during his speech, he walked through moments in American history. He highlighted special guests, people like a World War II veteran, for example, astronauts as well. And he also highlighted parts of his agenda, things like pushing for the Save America Act, which, if passed, would reshape how elections are operated in the U.S., though that does not have enough support right now to make it through Congress. During his speech, too, President Trump had framed communism as a threat and referring to it as a cancer as well, Joe.
Saturday's festivities were also marred by just a highly controversial moment. A white supremacist group was seen marching through the streets of D.C. What happened there?
Yeah, that's right. So members of a white supremacist group were spotted marching through D.C., multiple streets, and also standing in front of Union Station, which is a major train station here in D.C., chanting things like "Reclaim America." Some of them had Confederate flags as well. They were also spotted riding the trains, riding the subways in D.C., too. Now, also yesterday, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum was asked on CNN whether he condemned the group and what they stand for. And he had said that what they stand for is nothing that I could possibly agree with. But he also added that free speech is allowed, Joe.
Let's get to some other news, Megan. We're learning new details about the company that's expected now to repair the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. This is a saga that has been going on for weeks, but walk us through what's raising eyebrows now.
Yeah, so Interior Secretary Doug Burgum had also said that the same company that had initially been hired to reline the reflecting pool would also be used for the repairs for the pool. Now, recently we've seen chunks of that American flag blue, that's the name of the color that they used, liner peeling up from the bottom of the pool as well. Now, Burgum had said that they would use the same company because they did a fantastic job, is what he said. Now, the whole process had raised some criticism from critics of the administration who had criticized the fact that the company that had been hired, the company is called Atlantic Industrial Coatings, they'd been hired with a no-bid contract and a price tag that had ultimately reached more than $14 million. And so the fact that it's a no-bid contract had raised some eyebrows from critics of the administration. Also separately, the reflecting pool recently has also separately been plagued with algae that has turned the reflecting pool recently bright green, Joe.
Megan, let's look ahead to the midterms now, which are coming quickly. The NAACP has announced its largest ever spending campaign in its history and its midterms. Walk us through the plans to try and mobilize black voters for this upcoming election, especially in the wake of a key decision by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a major spending campaign. The NAACP had announced a $20 million Get Out the Vote campaign across more than a dozen states, including states that are going to be really important to watch for the midterm elections this fall. Places like Georgia and North Carolina and Texas, which all have really important Senate races to watch. Now, this comes right around the country's 250th anniversary and also, as you mentioned, comes in the wake of a Supreme Court ruling that had effectively effectively weakened the Voting Rights Act. So this is also to respond to that, the group had said. Now, as well, the spending includes efforts to recruit 20,000 volunteers and also to buy advertisements on black radio stations, Joe.
While we're talking about the midterms, we want to get to an unusual saga brewing in the Alaska Senate race. Incumbent Republican Senator Dan S. Sullivan facing a challenge from a man with a very similar name, Dan J. Sullivan. NBC News is learning federal and state prosecutors are investigating a possible conspiracy to confuse voters. Real quick, Megan, what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, that's right. So that is according to two people with knowledge of the investigation who are saying that there is an investigation underway into whether the challenger, Dan Sullivan, who's running, could be part of a conspiracy to confuse voters. Now, the incumbent, Dan Sullivan, has said that this is part of an attempt to try to confuse voters to potentially split their votes. But challenger Dan Sullivan says that this is a legitimate campaign. So we'll have to see what happens there, Joe.
I'm already confused. All right, Megan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Later today, prosecutors are expected to lay out their case against the man who's charged with killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. A 5-day preliminary hearing kicks off in a Utah courtroom to determine if Tyler Robinson should stand trial for murder. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty here. They claim Robinson sent a text message confession to his roommate and romantic partner before turning himself into police. Robinson has not yet entered a plea in the case. The 23-year-old is all charged with aggravated murder for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It happened last September at Utah Valley University. He's also facing charges related to obstruction, witness tampering, and discharging a firearm. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, and his parents are expected to attend this week's hearing. It is the first time they will be in a courtroom with the defendant. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris. Misty, good to have you with us. Most of the legal proceedings in this case so far have really centered on media access to Robinson's prosecution. So what will be the focus of this preliminary hearing here? What are we expecting to hear from prosecutors?
So, Joe, a preliminary hearing actually unfolds like a mini trial. So here, prosecutors have to lay out the evidence that they have in this case that points to Tyler Robinson as the one who shot Charlie Kirk on that day. And they need to convince the judge that there is probable cause. And so, Joe, that's a low standard of proof in the law. Probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause that Tyler Robinson was the one who committed the crime. So we're going to see a significant preview of the evidence that prosecutors will ultimately present at trial.
And looking at the evidence, or at least what we know so far, how strong is the prosecution's case here?
So it's very strong, and especially at this stage of the game, when you're talking about a preliminary hearing, the defense does not have as many rights in the context of this hearing as they will at trial. And that's because hearsay evidence can come into the courtroom. So what do we expect to hear? We expect to see law enforcement officers, displays of physical evidence, surveillance footage, photos of the murder weapon, ballistics reports, autopsy findings. And a central figure, Joe, was Tyler Robinson's roommate, who actually sat down with investigators with limited immunity back in April. So we're going to hear that interview, as well as text messages that were exchanged between the two, which investigators and prosecutors say are tantamount to a confession.
So knowing that the evidence against Robinson seems to be pretty overwhelming here, what is the best strategy for the defense?
Yeah, so the preliminary hearing is really skewed towards the prosecutors. For them, you know, if there's anything like a slam dunk, this is where you see it from the prosecutor's perspective for a preliminary hearing. However, for the defense, there's going to be a very clear goal, and it's going to be to try and get the death penalty off the table. Remember, Tyler Robinson is charged with aggravated murder, and in order for prosecutors to move forward and actually seek the death penalty, they have to show enough evidence that there was an aggravating factor under the law, the statutory law in Utah. Here, what prosecutors are going to argue is that the actions created a risk of death to other people, to people other than Charlie Kirk. We've all seen the video that day, crowds of people around. You can expect the defense to really try and attack that to see if they can do anything to get the death penalty off the table. They also intend to present 3 forensic experts to undermine some of that forensic evidence, like ballistics and fingerprint DNA evidence that prosecutors are going to present in court.
Let's talk more about the death penalty. If you're the prosecution, just how hard is it to actually keep that on the table all the way through.
So it can be really challenging, and it also presents additional issues at trial. A capital murder case, that is the most severe punishment that any criminal defendant can face. So there's extra protections for defendants when you move forward with a capital murder case. So I think what we're going to see is there's likely to be enough evidence to move forward to trial, probable cause, really low standard under the law. But when it comes to the trial, it becomes more complicated because not only does a jury have to determine the guilt phase, the jury also has to agree on the death penalty as well. So it does make the case a bit more complicated from that perspective.
All right. Misty Maris, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. The U.S. men's national team takes the field tonight, facing off against Belgium in the World Cup round of 16, and they're already making headlines before they even take the field. FIFA sent shockwaves through the tournament Sunday with that stunning decision clearing the way for Team USA's top scorer to play after that controversial red card suspension. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin has more on how President Trump may have played a role in that reversal.
The stunning reversal reverberating through the soccer world as FIFA reinstates star striker Folarin Balogun, slated to sit out against Belgium after getting slapped with a controversial red card for stepping on a player's leg during last week's match, Balogun calling it unintentional.
Not many places I can place my foot in such a scenario.
President Donald Trump called FIFA's president Gianni Infantino Wednesday and asked him to review the suspension, according to a source familiar with the phone conversation. Trump and Infantino have grown extremely close, fostering a tight-knit relationship over the last few years. Balogun seemed at practice his teammates thrilled.
It gives us a boost. We're really excited.
Ultimately, I think it gives us a little bit extra confidence.
The decision sparking online reaction.
What? Guess what? They took Flo's red card away!
It's like they're laughing in our face.
President Donald Trump thanking FIFA via Truth Social for, quote, reversing a great injustice. What do you think was behind their decision?
I think it was pretty controversial in the moment. If you looked at the replays and you really slowed it down, it did look probably worse than it was.
While the reversal is highly unusual, the FIFA Disciplinary Committee has made similar rulings in the past. Last year, Cristiano Ronaldo's 3-game ban was shortened to just 1. A major shakeup as fans gear up for another critical match. Dana Griffin, NBC News.
There is a lot more to cover with the World Cup this morning, so let's jump into it with Marcelo Balboa. He is an MLS analyst on Apple TV, former U.S. men's national team player who played in 3 World Cups. Marcelo, good to have you with us. Let's start right there with the red card controversy. Your reaction when you heard FIFA reverse this decision. Balogun's playing tonight.
Listen, we can't compel the Ronaldo one because Ronaldo wasn't in a World Cup. So listen, if you're an American, you woke up today, you're an American fan, you're excited to have Flo back, the game changer that can change a game for you. But to be honest, they're walking on thin ice right now because that's a decision that now has kind of set the standard of what FIFA can do. So to be honest with you, I heard it the other day. It really seems like now it's going to be the U.S. versus everybody else because everybody else now is really upset of what just happened with FIFA and the U.S. national team.
Let's talk about tonight's matchup. Team USA playing Belgium, a team that has been historically strong in some past international tournaments. How well can Team USA do? How key is having Balogun in the lineup?
Listen, having Balogun in the lineup is huge. That's been the same lineup. He scored 3 goals already in this World Cup. He's a guy that can spread the defense out. He's a guy that's dangerous. He's one of our best players that we've had up front in a long time since, I think, Eric Winalda and Brian McBride. But listen, this team's good. They haven't played and they haven't lived up to their potential in this World Cup, but we've already played them in the summer. We lost 5-2. So this is a team that's very good, that's very structured, that's very organized. They're not playing their best right now, but at the end of the day, all it takes is one game and you can click in to get into your rhythm and they could be dangerous. So yeah, this is going to be a very tough game for the United States.
I'm already apologizing to our viewers tomorrow morning. I will be tired because I will be staying up late to watch it. All right, the round of 16 action already got underway over the weekend. Some really great games yesterday. Yeah. Norway, England, latest teams punching their tickets into the quarterfinals. I was watching the Norway one in a bar. Holland is unreal. What stood out in yesterday's matches?
Listen, it just goes to show you don't have to be a big factor in the game, but at the right time, at the right place, that's where you got Erling Haaland. He gets in there, he puts in the back of the net. I think people are surprised how poorly Brazil played because we're not used to seeing Brazil play in this manner. But Norway's the surprise. You can just keep rowing home because they're going to be there at the end of the day. And England won't even talk about what a fantastic game that was last night between England and Mexico. And England held on. Let's be honest, 10 players, they held on, and great win for England.
Golden boot race, kind of unlike anything we've seen before. We've now got 3 very well-known players tied with 7 goals, another with 6. Yep. What do you make of that? Who do you think has the best chance at scoring the most goals in the tournament? I guess it depends on who gets the furthest.
Yeah, I'm going to go with whoever gets the furthest. I would say right now between Messi and Mbappe, any one of those 4 can really, at the end of the day, could win the Golden Boot. They're game changers. They're different. They score goals in different ways. Haaland can beat you in the air. Mbappe will beat you on the ground. Messi could do both and put in a free kick there. So Harry Kane, in the air is fantastic. Penalty kicks. So listen, this is what we wanted in this World Cup. We wanted a fight. We wanted the stars to show up, and the stars have shown up.
It's Monday morning. It's been a few days. I think we've had an opportunity after this weekend to maybe fully digest the Argentina game on Friday night. But what were your reflections watching that?
Oh, you mean the stress of a heart attack? Yes, watching Argentina. Listen, a lot of props. I got to say, it's been a fantastic story with Cabo Verde. They've been absolutely fantastic, and my hat goes off to them. They had an absolutely fantastic World Cup. Listen, Argentina struggled. They did not play their best soccer. They did not play what we're used to seeing them play, moving the ball around, in and out, in and out. It could have been because of the heat in Miami. But you know what they say, the best teams in the world find ways to win.
Marcelo, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, bit by bit, nugget by nugget, we are learning new details about the wedding of the year between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Madison Square Garden lit up with a lavender haze Friday night, announcing right there on the video boards outside, just TNT married. Guests are now revealing what it was like, calling the star-studded wedding magical. They say the couple exchanged personally written vows, with Swift even singing part of hers. The ceremony was officiated by the wedding singer himself, Adam Sandler, while Paul McCartney and Stevie Nicks helped celebrate at the reception. We're going to have more details for you in the next hour. Much more to come here on this Monday edition of Morning News Now, including why those pesky ticket scalpers now seem to be coming for your seat at some of the summer's hottest movie blockbusters. Up first, though, after the break, a renewed push to end Russia's war with Ukraine. Top of mind for President Trump ahead of this week's pivotal NATO summit in Turkey. But we're expecting his message to be when he meets face-to-face with President Zelensky. That's next. This week's NATO summit, President Trump is due to arrive at the meeting Tuesday, and a senior U.S. official says he does plan to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while he's there to make a renewed push to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Comes after Ukrainian officials said at least 11 people were killed after Russia launched a wave of missiles and drones at the capital of Kyiv overnight. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons is in Jerusalem and joins us with the latest. Keir, good morning. Before we get to this week's meeting, let's start with this latest round of drone strikes against Ukraine overnight. What are we learning?
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive air raid by Russia on Ukraine once again overnight, the second in less than a week. And significantly, aside from the casualties that you mentioned there, and we should say among the wounded 2 children, significantly all of the ballistic missiles that were fired by the Russians got through. What that suggests is that Ukraine is desperately low in Patriot air defenses, which it has been asking for, you could even argue begging for, from European countries and from the United States. You need those Patriots in order to intercept those ballistic missiles because they move so quickly. The fact that they have not been able to stop a single one overnight, that will raise serious concerns about Ukraine's ability to defend itself. So again, a backdrop for this NATO summit of more bloodshed, more chaos in Ukraine caused by Russia. And of course, the timing cannot be insignificant given the fact that Western leaders are about to meet in Turkey.
Yeah, let's look ahead and talk about that. The president is expected to meet with President Zelensky while he's there. Russia's war in Ukraine now well into its 5th year. it remains at a stalemate here. What do we know about what President Trump's message is going to be?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Ukraine war is in a stalemate, Joe, but it equally also is shifting quite significantly. So one of the things we are seeing is, again, the Ukrainians targeting and hitting oil refineries inside Russia, and that causing a lack of supplies of gasoline, for example, in that country. Also in the Black Sea and around Crimea, again, the Ukrainians gaining some success, according to Kyiv, in their efforts there to target the Russians. So again, another way in which that war is shifting, despite the fact that no one side really is winning. And to your point, yes, President Trump very likely will meet with President Zelensky over the weekend. He had a 90-minute conversation with Russian leader President Putin, and the Russians are talking about that as significant and saying that President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner are due to meet with the Russians again. Everybody watching will know, of course, that those two have been busy dealing with the Iran situation, and that has kind of put the Russia-Ukraine situation on the back burner, even while Ukraine and parts of Russia continue to burn.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on, as you mentioned, which brings me to my next question. Beyond Russia, Ukraine, just at this NATO summit, what all is on the agenda?
Well, one of those aspects on the agenda, of course, is going to be President Trump's continued assertion that NATO is not working for the United States. And just in the past few days, he posted again that America has spent more on NATO and has got little for it. Now, critics will say that, in fact, the US has gained enormously from NATO because peace in Europe is advantageous for the US, with Europe, of course, being such an enormously important trading partner for the United States. The Europeans will be arriving with a message that they will want to send, that they are spending a lot more on defense. In fact, some countries, Germany, for example, will suggest that they're spending as much as they can, as much as, if you like, the defense industry can keep up with, because you can spend money, but you still have to manufacture the weapons, and that takes time. So they will be coming, hoping to send that message to President Trump. Whether President Trump will be listening will be a different question. Exactly what message he will be coming with, again, will be a different question. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, announced a defense review, and there are those expectations that there will be some kind of a pullback, if you like, of US forces in Europe. And here's the worry for the Europeans, which they will be bringing to that meeting. They will be saying, worry about the potential that Russia starts to target other parts of Europe. Already it is doing that in a kind of clandestine way. If America signals that it's pulling back, what message will that send to Moscow?
All right. Keir Simmons in Jerusalem. Keir, thank you so much. Tens of thousands of mourners are marching through the streets of the Iranian capital, Tehran. It is part of a funeral procession for the slain former supreme leader Ali Khamenei. He was killed by U.S. and Israeli strikes at the start of the Iran war. Some mourners were seen calling for vengeance on President Trump. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from the Iranian capital. Richard, good morning.
I'm right now in central Tehran, and this is the main event. After lying in state for 3 days, now the late supreme leader's body is being carried through the streets of this city.
Iranians today poured into the streets of Tehran to honor their Ayatollah and supreme leader Ali Khamenei, assassinated by the U.S. and Israel 4 months ago at the start of the war.
And right there in the truck is the body of the late supreme leader. There are millions of people gathered in Tehran. Organizers say this could be one of the biggest public funerals in modern history. It is also a political display, a way for the government to show that it is still in charge, that it has popularity, that it is successfully passed power from one generation to the next, from the late supreme leader to his son, who has not been seen so far at these festivities.
Iran hasn't offered an explanation for the absence of the new leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba. A senior Iranian official denied to NBC News media reports that he was badly injured or disfigured in the same attack that killed his father. I managed to speak to a member of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard. They almost never talk to foreign journalists.
Do you think the war is over, or do you think this is just a pause?
We believe this war ends when we avenge the blood of Sayyid Ali Khamenei and his soldiers. This war is not over for us, he said. Security was tight. Many of the roads in the Iranian capital city of 10 million were blocked.
We're going to see if we can get on top of this fire truck to get a wider view of the crowds.
After some negotiations, they let us up.
From up here, you can get a better view, just a sea of flags and crowds as far as the eye can see.
Not all Iranians support the government. This country is deeply divided. But today, at least, there were no voices of opposition. Only massive, passionate displays of loyalty, grief, and anger.
This funeral procession is not ending today. After this, Khamenei will be brought to several locations in both Iran and Iraq before he is ultimately buried in his hometown, the Iranian city of Mashhad, on Thursday.
All right, Richard, thank you. Coming up, we've got a summertime health alert for you this morning. Why experts say cases of West Nile virus are ticking upward a whole lot earlier this year, and the simple steps you can take to enjoy the outdoors safely. That is next on Morning News Now. We are back with a health alert. The West Nile virus is surging earlier this year. In fact, this is the earliest we've seen it spike in more than 20 years. So far, the CDC is reporting at least 48 confirmed cases this year. Typically around now, that number would be around 10. And as mosquito season ramps up across much of the country, health experts say now is the time to take a few simple steps to protect yourself. Let's bring in our expert, NBC News medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. Let's start with just how West Nile virus actually spreads. People hear it's linked to birds, but how does it make its way to humans?
Yeah, Joe, so it starts with an infected bird. Birds get the West Nile virus infection. Then a mosquito bites the bird and then also gets infected. So we have an infected mosquito, which then bites the human. The humans are considered in virology terms as dead-end hosts. We cannot give it to anyone else. So we become kind of the endpoint for the virus. That is good and bad news. Bad news, we get infected. The good news is there is no human-to-human transmission, which is very important to remember.
No, yeah, that is very important. Another thing is most people who get West Nile actually don't feel sick. But when should a fever or mosquito bite actually become a reason to call your doctor to be a little more concerned?
Yeah, it's a great question because everybody feels like they're getting some sort of bites just given the warm weather around the globe. The key symptoms that we have to watch out for, and as you said, the majority of people get no symptoms. About 20% of West Nile virus cases get some symptoms, which really usually include just a fever, some mild stiffness. When you should see a doctor, you can start at that point, especially if you're older. But Joe, really important as what we show on screen, severe headaches, stiff neck, any sort of confusion. That could also be dehydration given the warm temperatures, but you should get to a doctor so you can evaluate that.
Let's give some people some good news, some positive news. What are some of the simple things we can do to protect ourselves and enjoy the outdoors?
All right, here's the great news. We can do a lot to protect ourselves, including purchasing any insect repellent that has the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, registered stamp of approval. That commonly includes insecticides that have DEET or kind of that lemon oil, but look for that. Wear long sleeves. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we know from many countries that this can not only help you in the heat, it can protect you from West Nile. Standing pools of water, even those plant buckets that even I have forgotten to put plants into that sit there with still pools of water, turn them over, make them empty. Still pools of water can be a great resource for West Nile. And above all else, make sure that if you do get any of those mosquito bites, that you watch them closely, but also look for those symptoms that we talked about.
Is now a good time for folks to be on alert, especially with all of the rain, which will create all that standing water over the next few days?
It is. And the peak season for West Nile, regardless of the temperature, is around August to September. So, Joe, I hate to say it, we're still not at that peak moment yet. So be on alert. And remember, take those precautions and you can do all of the things that we talked about and stay incredibly safe and enjoy your time outdoors.
But remember, we still got a couple months to go here. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, it is a familiar headache for folks looking to score tickets to this year's hottest festivals or shows. But when we come back, well, we've got a front row seat to a scalper's latest dream scenario, charging top dollar for the summer's biggest blockbusters. We're going to explain next on Morning News Now. We are back with the battle for movie fans to score seats to the summer's biggest blockbuster films. Demand is growing for special showings at IMAX theaters for movies like The Odyssey, which is due out next week. And industry experts now warn that demand is boosting prices. Some resellers are listing premium tickets for thousands of dollars per seat to a movie. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas takes a closer look.
One of the biggest movies of the summer is just days away.
Help me go home.
But movie fans may have to go on an odyssey of their own to see it.
Keep saying error.
7 p.m.'s already sold out.
Premium seats for Christopher Nolan's eagerly anticipated new flick, The Odyssey, selling fast.
For 2 hours, I sat refreshing the page.
What if I can't?
The movie from our sister company Universal Pictures is the first film to be entirely shot with 70mm IMAX cameras. Traditional 35mm film fills a standard widescreen, while IMAX 70mm film reveals much more of the image above and below. It's a format available at only 25 theaters nationwide. So when tickets went on sale for opening weekend, it was a bloodbath.
Felt like Beyonce tickets. It was crazy for a movie.
Resellers trying to cash in on the hype, asking as much as $2,000 for tickets to early showings.
I'm not paying $500 for myself.
Similar tickets for Dune 3 also listed in the hundreds of dollars, months before its December release. IMAX tickets already cost almost $8 more than the average price for a seat in a theater.
There is so much fan demand for these premium format tickets that more than 20% of the domestic opening for some of last year's biggest movies came from IMAX sales alone.
It's a real bright spot in an industry that's had a hard past 6 years. It's changed movie making.
Erin Couch is a film editor at The Hollywood Reporter.
How important is it for movies to offer premium tickets as part of the experience?
If you are a movie studio, it is essential. You are leaving money on the table if you don't do this.
A battle for the box office, all for an epic experience at the movies. Chloe Malas, NBC News, New York.
All right, a new investment account program for children in the U.S. is officially live. They're known as Trump accounts. They launched on the nation's birthday, July 4th. For babies born between 2025 and 2028, the government will put $1,000 into eligible accounts that are designed to be tax advantage for kids under 18. The goal is to get Americans saving earlier. A senior Treasury Department official says more than 6 million children have been signed up for Trump accounts, and more than 1 million are eligible for that $1,000 from the government. Here to talk more about this is Investopedia's editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver. Caleb, good to have you with us. So obviously we need to save money just to see a movie apparently nowadays, but help us understand how exactly these Trump accounts work. What are some of the biggest advantages?
Well, you mentioned the fact that they are for kids born between January 1st, 2025 and January 1st, 2028, effectively the president's second term here. And they do deposit the government, if you sign up for it, $1,000 into that account, and parents can match up to $5,000 a year into that account. That account is then invested in what they call low-cost index funds, which basically track the stock market and can compound over time if you continue to add to it, given the stock market's performance. This is a great way to save and get your kids started investing. And once they turn 18, they can use that money either for education, if they want to use it for their college tuition, or they can use it for borrowing to buy a house or things of that nature. So it's a good head start, and it's effective as of July 4th the other day.
Are there any risks that parents should be aware of? And also, just are there alternative options out there for people who do want to start saving for their young children?
Yeah, you could start a custodial account for your child if you don't want one of these Trump accounts, but the government is seeding these accounts with $1,000. So why not take that money from the government if you have a child that fits into this age range here or that's born over the next couple of years? But if you want to do it on your own, basically a custodial account or start a Roth IRA for a child as the custodian, turn it over to them when they're 18. But this is very similar and effectively the same thing, only with that $1,000 head start and the fact that parents can match up to $5,000 a year and continue to compound and grow that account over time.
Caleb, while we have you, let's talk about some other business news. Elon Musk's SpaceX set to officially join the NASDAQ before tomorrow's opening bell. What could this mean for the stock market, both in the short term and the long term? What should investors know?
Well, specifically, it's joining the NASDAQ 100, which is an index within the NASDAQ, which is an exchange that has about 5,000 stocks in it. But the NASDAQ 100 is a group of the fastest growing stocks that are listed on the NASDAQ. And among those stocks, you'll have an Apple, a Microsoft, and NVIDIA. So it is joining that index. Typically, stocks at IPO usually have to wait a year or so or prove that they're profitable over a series of quarters to be included in indexes like the NASDAQ 100 or like some of the smaller indexes, which this stock has already been included in. So whether you wanted to own it or not, if you own the NASDAQ 100 or a proxy for it through an index fund or an exchange traded fund, you're going to own SpaceX. So it's being included very quickly into these new exchanges because they want this company's stock in their indexes. And that's what's happening as of today.
Caleb, also this week, we've got some more economic data that's coming out. What are you going to be watching out for?
Yeah, well, we're going to get a reading on weekly jobless claims like we do every single week. But given the jobs report we had for the last month, which we got out on Thursday, we only had 57,000 jobs added. And we want to see if these weekly claims start to increase, if more people are becoming laid off. I'm going to watch that pretty closely as well. We'll also get a reading on the FOMC minutes from the last Fed meeting. We're not going to hear a lot from this new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, but the minutes, the conversations that were happening in the FOMC meeting will be revealed to us on Wednesday. We already know he is targeting inflation as the Fed's primary goal here. So we're going to watch that pretty carefully as well. But this is the second half of the year and the stock market has been through a lot. We want to see if that momentum continues into the second half.
We know you'll keep an eye on it. Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Coming up, the bucket is back when Morning News Now returns. Why that viral ALS Ice Bucket Challenge from more than a decade ago now being brought back into the global spotlight by one former NFL star. That is next. Stay with us. We end this hour with a charity challenge that is making a comeback. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge is apparently now retro. It first went viral back in 2014, raising millions of dollars to fight the disease. ALS is a devastating disease that slowly deteriorates a person's ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And it currently has no cure. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson reports on the resurging Ice Bucket Challenge and the former NFL star who is bringing it back.
The Ice Bucket Challenge back in a big way.
I'm doing the ALS Challenge for my boy Chris 2K.
From NFL stars like Pac-Man Jones to Marshawn Lynch. The challenge making headlines again after it first rocketed around the internet in 2014, raising $220 million for ALS research. It comes just days after a former NFL star announced he was diagnosed with ALS. Chris Johnson, known as CJ2K, the former running back for the Tennessee Titans.
ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
That news and his call to action prompting fans like this former college basketball player to get the ball rolling.
In honor of CJ2K, I am doing the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Johnson was paying attention and asked for help, writing, "Years ago, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge united millions of people around one cause and helped change the fighting against this disease. Today, I'm asking you to help me do it again." Now his fans and community answering the call.
I challenge every Titans fan in the nation. Let's go.
The ALS Association says donations have tripled since Johnson's announcement, including many for $28 for his number, 28.
A resurgence like this is everything we want because it helps to raise awareness.
Proving raising your hand and your bucket can help make a difference. Hallie Jackson, NBC News.
Looking forward to seeing more of those videos for a good cause. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. Good Monday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. Right now on Morning News Now, wild weather, severe storms threatening millions of people after battering cities over the July 4th weekend. Flood alerts now in place across 10 states. Bad weather piling on the misery for travelers with thousands of flights delayed nationwide. Well, the latest on that as folks try to get home after the holidays. The thunderstorms also impacting big events across the country, including President Trump's salute to America in D.C. Thousands forced to evacuate, delaying the president's speech by hours. When he did speak, the president invoking partisanship and patriotism. More on that as Mr. Trump heads to Turkey for a high-stakes NATO summit. Also this morning, the NAACP announcing its biggest ever campaign spend, how the civil rights group is planning to try to mobilize black voters ahead of this year's midterms. Plus, a World Cup firestorm on and off the pitch, the dispute widening after FIFA's decision to allow USA's Folarin Balogun to play in tonight's match. Belgium saying it will appeal, while Europe's soccer governing body says FIFA has crossed a line by suspending his ban following a phone call from President Trump. With more on that controversy, plus all the drama on the pitch, including a wild match in Mexico City. We begin this hour with the intense summer storms threatening millions of Americans this morning. Overnight, fast-moving storms dumped several inches of rain in the Northeast, causing flash flooding in parts of New York and Pennsylvania. This comes after record-breaking heat and powerful storms delayed or even canceled some July 4th celebrations across the country. For the latest, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin, who joins us now from Paramus, New Jersey, with more. Aaron, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. That's right. After the weekend's extreme heat and severe storms, folks are waking up to an absolute mess. Check out this street here in New Jersey. Over the weekend, a storm sent that tree crashing down, taking out the power lines and then slamming into that home. Now, here in the Northeast this morning, the big concern is all of the rain, the possibility of flooding. This summer of wild weather shows no signs of letting up anytime soon.
Overnight, serious summer storms slamming the Northeast, threatening Monday morning commutes for millions of people.
Oh, my God.
After causing trouble at airports, with ground stops and mounting delays across the country. The big problem? Rain, and a lot of it. In New York City, officials warning heavy downpours could dump 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. And that threat of rising waters extending outside the Big Apple, with 61 million people across 10 states waking up under a flood alert. The severe storms capping off a weekend of Independence Day celebrations, hampered by hazardous weather. Heavy rain and lightning delaying President Trump's speech on Saturday night, as well as the massive fireworks show on the National Mall. New York City's annual Macy's firework extravaganza not only had to be moved up to avoid oncoming storms, but the pyrotechnics ignited a brief blaze on the Brooklyn Bridge. Around the country, bolts of lightning joining fireworks to light up the night sky. All of it coming on the heels of a deadly summer scorcher, with at least 25 suspected heat-related deaths so far. In D.C., multiple people attending the Salute to America 250 taken away on stretchers and treated for apparent heat-related emergencies, as millions nationwide tried to seek relief from the sun.
It's hot. Like the walk from my workplace to my car, terrible.
Across the country, hundreds of thousands of folks are without power. In fact, a neighbor who lives on this street told us power won't return, he's been told, until Wednesday. Meanwhile, our officials are warning any folks out there driving on the roads to use caution. If you come across a road that's covered with water, do not drive through it. It may be deeper than you think. An important tip as folks head home after the big weekend. Joe?
A lot of driving hurdles out there. Aaron, thank you. Let's bring in meteorologist Rafael Miranda. He is tracking the latest for us this morning because it is not letting up, is it?
No, still a very nasty weather pattern here in the Northeast, Joe. Thankfully, the severe heat has ended. The extreme heat is gone, but now we're dealing with a rain threat and a flood risk. Heavy rain this morning across the Northeast, making for very difficult travel, flooding and ponding on the roadways between New York City and Connecticut right now, out across Long Island as well. We've seen these bands of rain, and that's going to be the trend throughout the day today. In fact, we have a flood watch impacting 61 million people. These are major cities: New York, Philadelphia, D.C., down towards Virginia, and up through southern New England. All have the potential for seeing flash flooding, very heavy rainfall rates of 2 inches per hour or more at times as these downpours move through. Now, there has been a shift in the significant flash flooding risk. It has shifted north and east of New York City for the most part into southern Connecticut and Long Island. That's where the heavy rain looks to be setting up as we head throughout the rest of the day today. And this is an all-day event. We're dealing with a stationary front. It's not going anywhere, so we have the rain through the afternoon. This is 8 o'clock tonight, and it's still raining heavily in some spots. Tomorrow, thankfully, this front shifts to the south, and we see the heavy rain exiting the northeast back down towards the southeast here, flooding additional concern there for your Tuesday. We're talking about several inches of rain in a short amount of time, and that's the flood threat across the northeast down towards Virginia today. Again, travel, a very busy travel day, air travel, highway travel, and look at all these possible difficult routes here. The southeast back towards the Gulf Coast, heavy rain and storms. And of course, I've talked about the rain in the northeast. That could certainly slow you down. As far as air travel, watch out for delays building as we head throughout the afternoon, especially in the northeast. Lots of patience required on this busy travel day, Joe.
Yeah, let's talk more about that, Raf. The timing of these storms couldn't be worse for the millions of folks trying to make their way home after the holiday weekend. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is at Chicago O'Hare's airport, joins us with more on that part of the story. Maggie, good morning. Things did not go smoothly for people who were trying to fly home yesterday. I know nearly 10,000 flights were delayed nationwide. And you suggested to us earlier this morning, you've been at O'Hare a lot. Let's be clear. You've done that live shot a lot of times, and there's a lot of people there this morning, right?
Yeah, Joe, it's basically a second home, as you know. I truly don't know if I've ever seen the line as long as it was this morning. The general boarding line, thankfully, for everyone's sanity here, was basically cleared up, but it was snaking several hundred feet down toward the end of the airport and then back up again. I talked to one woman. I said, what did you think when you walked in and saw this line? And she says, I freaked out. It really threw a lot of people off this morning. They didn't realize the July 4th travel rush was still going. Rafael set it up perfectly, effectively, with all of these pockets of storms. People are worried. Analysts are worried that it really could throw a wrench into this final kind of home stretch of holiday travel. I just checked the latest numbers. More than 1,000 flights delayed nationwide so far this morning, and close to 500 canceled. And Joe, as you know, it is so early, so we do expect those numbers to soar and hope people kind of allow that extra time when they go to the airports today.
Yeah, for those people who are freaking out when they walk in and see how long the lines are, knowing there's more severe weather in the forecast, what are some of the best tips for people to prepare for any disruptions?
It's always, always, always get here early. I talked to one woman. She said, thank God I have pre-check and thank God I got here early. So that's obviously the golden rule. Analysts and airlines alike also reminding people to check your flight status ahead of time and always download the app. We talk about if your flight, especially if it's canceled. I talked to another woman who said her flight wasn't canceled overnight, but she missed her connection because of weather. She was going from Rochester, New York, through Chicago to Denver, and she was stuck in Chicago overnight. She had to rebook. Did it through the app. That's always the fastest way. Don't call the airline. Just stick with the online reservations. So that's always the best tips, Joe.
Some good advice there. Far more people drive than fly on a holiday weekend like this one, and some maybe decided to take a little extra long weekend. They're coming home today. For those who are hitting the highways, what do they need to know?
Today is supposed to be one of the busiest days travel-wise of the entire holiday weekend, so it sounds like a lot of people did that. Total, again, 61 million Americans driving over this holiday weekend. You combine the return holiday traffic with those who were more responsible and are headed back to work today. No judgment here. It's going to be a busy day on the roads. Basically, the main trip is to get the drive in early. Get it in the morning if you can. The good news, and you're seeing it there, gas still falling, down about 50 cents from 1 month ago, hovering around $3.80 nationwide on average. The states with the lowest totals, Texas, Oklahoma, and Indiana. So if you're traveling through those states, definitely a good time to fill up. But either way, again, that golden rule, allow for that extra time, Joe. It's just a crazy day, travel-wise, clearly.
No kidding. All right, Maggie Vespa at O'Hare, thank you so much. President Trump is heading to Turkey later today for a high-stakes NATO summit. Comes after a weekend of terrible weather delayed his speech that was marking America's 250th anniversary. Thousands were forced to evacuate amid those thunderstorms. Then hours later, the president finally managed to deliver an address that veered from patriotic to political. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now with more on this. Gabe, good morning. So what kind of speech was this from the president, and what has been the reaction to it?
Well, hi, Joe. Good morning. It was more of a historical speech than we're used to seeing from the president. There were a lot of references to U.S. heroes and spotlighting the stories of veterans. But as you mentioned, it also veered into current day politics at times. Here's a portion.
For 250 years, the United States of America has been the hope, the promise, the light, and the glory among all of the nations of the world. And all these talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country.
That reference to communism is something we've been hearing more and more from the president as of late, with progressive Democrats winning recent primaries in New York and Colorado. We expect to hear more of that message over the next few months heading into the midterms. Now, Joe, the speech lasted about 50 minutes. It wrapped up just before midnight, and that spectacular fireworks display. Of course, there was all that drama, as you mentioned, leading up to the president taking the stage with the threat of severe weather and all those evacuations on the National Mall, Joe.
All right, Gabe, Saturday's festivities also marred by a very highly controversial moment. A white supremacist group was seen marching through the streets of D.C. Walk us through what happened here.
Yeah, that's right. It was apparently hundreds of masked white supremacists marching through the streets of the nation's capital. They were chanting and waving Confederate flags. And also, Joe, there was this striking photo that made the rounds showing a woman, a commuter, surrounded by marchers on the D.C. Metro. Now, the Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, was asked about this in a Sunday interview and said, what they stand for is nothing that I could possibly agree with. That's according to the Interior Secretary. But one of the foundational principles of the United States, which makes democracy messy, is free speech. Joe.
All right. Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. Gabe, thank you so much. Now, we are less than 4 months away from the 2026 midterm elections, and several organizations are making big moves hoping to reach more voters. Over the weekend, the NAACP made its biggest midterm investment in history. The civil rights group rolled out a $20 million Get Out the Vote campaign on the nation's 250th birthday. This campaign specifically targets infrequent voters. It's aiming to increase black voter turnout, similar to the 2008 and 2012 elections of President Barack Obama. For more on this investment, I'm joined now by the head of the campaign, Dominic Whitehead. He is the chief of Field Membership Growth and Unit Sustainability for the NAACP. Dominic, thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. We do appreciate it. I know this campaign is on par with what the NAACP spent in the 2024 presidential election, but it's almost double what the organization spent in the 2022 midterms. Typically, organizations spend less in the midterms. Why did you feel compelled to try and invest so much more in this midterm cycle?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. The reason we wanted to increase and double our impact this midterm election cycle, since the 2024 presidential election cycle, the top of 2025, and with this current administration, we have continued to see an attack on our democracy. We have continued to see attack on Black Americans across this country. And so for the NAACP, it was our priority to ensure that we are, one, engaging and educating voters across the country, but two, making sure we're doubling down in the right way to ensure that we have a Congress that can pass legislation that matters to Black and brown folks, a Congress that will uphold democracy in this Constitution in this country, because we're seeing what's happening with this current administration.
That issue here is certainly the Supreme Court's decision weakening the Voting Rights Act. I know members of the Congressional Black Caucus have warned that a third of its members could be wiped out by redistricting. Do you think, first of all, is it possible to overcome that?
I think it's possible to overcome that, but the only way to overcome that, the first and foremost, is all roads for us lead to November. What I mean by that, we have to ensure that we have a Congress, that will uphold voting rights, whether it's passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, whether it's passing the Freedom to Vote Act, right? The other piece is just not top of the ticket, it's down ballot. And so what does it look like to ensure that we are engaging in state legislatures across the country? What does it look like to ensure that we are engaging in gubernatorial races across the country? Of course, the NAACP is nonpartisan, but it's our hope to increase Black turnout, to ensure, as we're increasing Black turnout, we're able to elect candidates that will uphold things like voting rights, right? And making sure we're not weakening the voting rights in the states, given what happened a few weeks ago with the Calais Supreme Court case.
So if you did lose a third of the Congressional Black Caucus because of this redistricting, what could be the impact of that?
The impact is so severe if we were to lose a third of the Black Caucus. One, let's think about that, right? When we think about Black people and power in this country, particularly political power, the power is diluted, right? There's lack of representation. Oftentimes, folks say the Black Caucus is the soul of Congress, it's the soul of the nation. So that weakens the caucus. The caucus is oftentimes the front line for so many Black and brown minority communities across the country. It also gives a set of precedents, if you will, across the country to allow legislatures to continue to do this mid-decade redistricting outside of the redistricting cycle. So it's so many things that will be impacted when we think about what happens when we are diluting power and diluting districts across the country.
Redistricting isn't the only hurdle. In 2024, President Trump did better than many expected with Black voters. Pew Research says that he got 15% of the vote. That's nearly doubling the 8% he got 4 years earlier. He has found ways to appeal to younger Black voters. Why do you think that is? Do you think you could see something similar this year?
That is so interesting. I like to be clear. When we think about Black voters, 90+% of Black women vote progressively. Right behind Black women, the largest voting demographic in this country is Black men, with 80+%, 89% just trailing Black women. And so we think about how we're continuing to engage. One of the things that we as the NAACP will continue to do is meet voters where they are, knocking on doors, having conversations, meeting voters on social media platforms, making sure we're having the right messengers and trusted messengers talking to the different demographics of Black voters. And to be clear, as you know, Black voters are not a monolith, right? And so whether it's the NAACP or other constituency-based organizations and or the Democratic Party for that matter, they have to dig deep and folks have to really have conversations and understand the core issues of Black voters. And I think if we see that, Black voters, in my opinion, are the smartest voters they are, and they'll make the right decisions in November.
Dominic Whitehead, we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you.
Let's get now to a decision at the FIFA World Cup that is certainly stirring up controversy ahead of Team USA's match against Belgium tonight. Over the weekend, FIFA announced that Folarin Balogun on the U.S. men's national team will be eligible to play in the match. That's despite picking up a red card in the last match in the round of 32. This is an extremely rare move, especially in the middle of a major international tournament. Balogun received that red card during last week's win against Bosnia and Herzegovina for what seemed like an unintentional action. Balogun's absence was going to be a major blow to the U.S., which has looked better than ever in the tournament so far. Balogun leads the Americans with 3 goals so far at the World Cup. Now, Belgium coach Rudy Garcia did chime in on the reversal yesterday, comparing the decision to an April Fool's joke. NBC News has now confirmed President Trump and FIFA's president did speak about the issue. That's according to a U.S. official. The president said he wanted to better understand why there was a red card and suspension. The official also added that the appeal process is run by an independent board. All this is setting up tonight's massive game in Seattle, where Team USA will aim to try and make the quarterfinals for the first time since 2002. For all the World Cup latest, let's bring in Marcelo Balboa. He's an MLS analyst on Apple TV, a former U.S. men's national team player who played in 3 World Cups. Marcelo, good to have you back with us again. Let's talk more about this red card reversal. It's become a hot topic, to put it mildly, across the entire tournament. Balogun is going to suit up for the U.S. against Belgium tonight in Seattle. I have been to a soccer game in Seattle. They can create earthquakes there. They're that loud. But first of all, just this red card, I guess, suspension. How rare is this?
It's very rare to have a red card rescinded like that right before a game. And I think what the big deal is right now is when you prepare for a game, you're preparing your game plan for 2 or 3 days. Within 24 hours of the game, they decide that Flo is going to get an opportunity to play. So now Belgium has to redo basically their tactics, how they're going to approach this game. He's that big of a game changer for the United States. So this is a huge decision for FIFA. But also, listen, if you're an American, you're thrilled to death. If you're not, now you just turned everybody against the United States.
So who has the advantage tonight with Balogun in the lineup? Who can win this one between the U.S. and Belgium?
Ooh, well, you're going to have a very pissed off Belgium team who wants to prove a point, but then you have a very happy team that gets their game changer back, the guy that scored 3 goals in this tournament. I would think the United States and the American fans are going to be much happier right now than Belgium. But now, like I said, Belgium's got a lot to prove.
Overnight, let's talk about some other action. England moved on to the next round, stunning Mexico in their home stadium. What'd you make of this one? Was this a surprising result?
You know, first of all, what a great game. Great atmosphere. England did something that not a lot of teams can do. So, yeah, you know what? It was not a shocking result, because I think if you look at player for player, England has that group, but always playing Mexico in Mexico City in front of their fans is probably one of the toughest places to play. And you can see the way the English celebrated last night. It's like they won the World Cup. They were running around the field. So it was that big of a win in Azteca.
I know we're all excited for the American match tonight, but we've also got another good one in the first match of the day. We got Portugal versus Spain. What are you expecting in this one?
Well, it's going to be a great game. Listen, you've got the young up-and-coming star, Yamal, who is representing Spain, who's just coming back off an injury. You've got on the other side one of the second best player in the world. I'm a Messi guy. So the second best player in the world, probably playing in his last World Cup game. So I would expect this to be another battle. I could see this one going into overtime, but listen, this is going to be one of the biggest matchups we're going to see in the round of the quarterfinals.
And to keep in mind, if the U.S. does win against Belgium tonight, they will play the winner of that one, Spain and Portugal. Yeah, I mean, the World Cup has just been such a success in the U.S. so far at its peak. More than 30 million people tuned in for that USA match against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Do you think, and we ask this all the time, especially every 2 to 4 years when the men's or women's team does well, but is this perhaps a turning point for soccer in America?
Yeah, listen, we started this in '94, having the first World Cup, kind of showing people what it's about. We've grown. We've got MLS. So I think so. I think this is going to open up a lot of people's eyes of what this sport's about, the beauty behind it, why it's it's the most popular sport in the world. So, yeah, you know what? We're hoping that the people are starting to catch on and understand the beauty of us. We're not trying to step on the football or baseball or basketball fans' toes or anything like that. This is its own group. This is something. Listen, I'm Argentinian. I grew up as a baby as a River Plate fan, and it's been in my family for generations. So we're hoping people see the beauty of our sport.
I know you said you're a Messi guy, but as we get closer and closer to the final here, as we get closer and closer to getting to the quarterfinals and the final 8, is this shaping up the way you thought it would? Do you think we're heading down the road of a final that we can expect, or could we see a surprise thrown in here?
Listen, everybody's right now has France-Argentina final. I could see a few surprises. I could see Morocco getting to that final. They've been playing well. They've got the right results, but you know, right now it's just too hard, too difficult to go against what France has been doing. They've got so many great players, and Argentina didn't play well against Cape Verde, but we'll see if they can reach the final.
All right, Marcelo, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're back now with more on this week's NATO summit. President Trump is due to arrive at the meeting Tuesday, and a senior U.S. official says he does plan to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while he's there to make a renewed push to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Comes after Ukrainian officials said at least 11 people were killed after Russia launched a wave of missiles and drones at the capital of Kyiv overnight. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons is in Jerusalem and joins us with the latest. Keir, good morning. Before we get to this week's meeting, let's start with this latest round of drone strikes against Ukraine overnight. What are we learning?
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive air raid by Russia on Ukraine once again overnight, the second in less than a week. And significantly, aside from the casualties that you mentioned there, and we should say among the wounded 2 children, significantly all of the ballistic missiles that were fired by the Russians got through. What that suggests is is that Ukraine is desperately low in Patriot air defenses, which it has been asking for, you could even argue begging for, from European countries and from the United States. You need those Patriots in order to intercept those ballistic missiles because they move so quickly. The fact that they have not been able to stop a single one overnight, that will raise serious concerns about Ukraine's ability to defend itself. So again, a backdrop for this NATO summit of more bloodshed, more chaos in Ukraine caused by Russia. And of course, the timing cannot be insignificant given the fact that Western leaders are about to meet in Turkey.
Yeah, let's look ahead and talk about that. The president is expected to meet with President Zelensky while he's there. Russia's war in Ukraine now well into its 5th year. It remains at a stalemate here. What do we know about what President Trump's message is going to be?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Ukraine war is in a stalemate, Joe, but it equally also is shifting quite significantly. So one of the things we are seeing is, again, the Ukrainians targeting and hitting oil refineries inside Russia, and that causing a lack of supplies of gasoline, for example, in that country. Also in the Black Sea and around Crimea, again, the Ukrainians gaining some success, according to Kyiv, in their efforts there to target the Russians. So again, another way in which that war is shifting, despite the fact that no one side really is winning. And to your point, yes, President Trump very likely will meet with President Zelensky over the weekend. He had a 90-minute conversation with Russian leader President Putin, and the Russians are talking about that as significant and saying that President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner are due to meet with the Russians again. Everybody watching will know, of course, that those two have been busy dealing with the Iran situation, and that has kind of put the Russia-Ukraine situation on the back burner, even while Ukraine and parts of Russia continue to burn.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on, as you mentioned, which brings me to my next question. Beyond Russia, Ukraine, just at this NATO summit, what all is on the agenda?
Well, one of those aspects on the agenda, of course, is going to be President Trump's continued assertion that NATO is not working for the United States. And just in the past few days, he posted again that America has spent more on NATO and has got little for it. Now, critics will say that, in fact, the US has gained enormously from NATO because peace in Europe is advantageous for the US, with Europe, of course, being such an enormously important trading partner for the United States. The Europeans will be arriving with a message that they will want to send, that they are spending a lot more on defense. In fact, some countries, Germany, for example, will suggest that they're spending as much as they can, as much as, if you like, the defense industry can keep up with, because you can spend money, but you still have to manufacture the weapons, and that takes time. So they will be coming, hoping to send that message to President Trump. Whether President Trump will be listening will be a different question. Exactly what message he'll be coming with, again, will be a different question. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, announced a defense review, and there are those expectations that there will be some kind of a pullback, if you like, of US forces in Europe. And here's the worry for the Europeans, which they will be bringing to that meeting. They will be saying, worry about the potential that Russia starts to target other parts of Europe. Already it is doing that in a kind of clandestine way. If America signals that it's pulling back, what message will that send to Moscow?
All right. Keir Simmons in Jerusalem. Keir, thank you so much. Tens of thousands of mourners are marching through the streets of the Iranian capital, Tehran. It is part of a funeral procession for the slain former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. He was killed by U.S. and Israeli strikes at the start of the Iran war. Some mourners were seen calling for vengeance on President Trump. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from the Iranian capital. Richard, good morning.
I'm right now in central Tehran, and this is the main event. After lying in state for 3 days, now the late Supreme Leader's body is being carried through the streets of this city.
Iranians today poured into the streets of Tehran to honor their Ayatollah and Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, assassinated by the U.S. and Israel 4 months ago at the start of the war.
And right there in the truck is the body of the late Supreme Leader. There are millions of people gathered in Tehran. Organizers say this could be one of the biggest public funerals in modern history. It is also a political display, a way for the government to show that it is still in charge, that it has popularity, that it is successfully passed power from one generation to the next, from the late Supreme Leader to his son, who has not been seen so far at these festivities.
Iran hasn't offered an explanation for the absence of the new leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba. A senior Iranian official denied to NBC News media reports that he was badly injured or disfigured in the same attack that killed his father. I managed to speak to a member of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard. They almost never talk to foreign journalists.
Do you think the war is over, or do you think this is just a pause?
We believe this war ends when we avenge the blood of Sayyid Ali Khamenei and his soldiers. This war is not over for us, he said. Security was tight. Many of the roads in the Iranian capital city of 10 million were blocked.
We're going to see if we can get on top of this fire truck to get a wider view of the crowds.
After some negotiations, they let us up.
From up here, you can get a better view, just a sea of flags and crowds as far as the eye can see.
Not all Iranians support the government. This country is deeply divided. But today, at least, there were no voices of opposition. Only massive, passionate displays of loyalty, grief, and anger.
This funeral procession is not ending today. After this, Khamenei will be brought to several locations in both Iran and Iraq before he is ultimately buried in his hometown, the Iranian city of Mashhad, on Thursday.
All right, Richard, thank you. Coming up, we've got a summertime health alert for you this morning. Why experts say cases of West Nile virus are ticking upward a whole lot earlier this year, and the simple steps you can take to enjoy the outdoors safely. That is next on Morning News Now. We are back with a health alert. The West Nile virus is surging earlier this year. In fact, this is the earliest we've seen it spike in more than 20 years. So far, the CDC is reporting at least 48 confirmed cases this year. Typically around now, that number would be around 10. And as mosquito season ramps up across much of the country, health experts say now is the time to take a few simple steps to protect yourself. Let's bring in our expert, NBC News medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. Let's start with just how West Nile virus actually spreads. People hear it's linked to birds, but how does it make its way to humans?
Yeah, Joe, so it starts with an infected bird. Birds get the West Nile virus infection. Then a mosquito bites the bird and then also gets infected. So we have an infected mosquito, which then bites the human. The humans are considered in virology terms as dead-end hosts. We cannot give it to anyone else. So we become kind of the endpoint for the virus. That is good and bad news. Bad news, we get infected. The good news is there is no human-to-human transmission, which is very important to remember.
No, yeah, that is very important. Another thing is most people who get West Nile actually don't feel sick. But when should a fever or mosquito bite actually become a reason to call your doctor to be a little more concerned?
Yeah, it's a great question because everybody feels like they're getting some sort of bites just given the warm weather around the globe. So the key symptoms that we have to watch out for, and as you said, the majority of people get no symptoms. About 20% of West Nile virus cases get some symptoms, which really usually include just a fever, some mild stiffness. When you should see a doctor, you can start at that point, especially if you're older. But Joe, really important as what we show on screen, severe headaches, stiff neck, any sort of confusion. That could also be dehydration given the warm temperatures, but you should get to a doctor so you can evaluate that.
Let's give some people some good news, some positive news. What are some of the simple things we can do to protect ourselves and enjoy the outdoors?
All right, here's the great news. We can do a lot to protect ourselves, including purchasing any insect repellent that has the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, registered stamp of approval. That is commonly includes insecticides that have DEET or kind of that lemon oil, but look for that. Wear long sleeves. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we know from many countries that this can not only help you in the heat, it can protect you from West Nile. Standing pools of water, even those plant buckets that even I have forgotten to put plants into that sit there with still pools of water, turn them over, make them empty. Still pools of water can be a great resource for West Nile. And above all else, make sure that if you do get any of those mosquito bites, that you watch them closely, but also look for those symptoms that we talked about.
Is now a good time for folks to be on alert, especially with all of the rain, which will create all that standing water over the next few days?
It is. And the peak season for West Nile, regardless of the temperature, is around August to September. So, Joe, I hate to say it, we're still not at that peak moment yet. So be on alert. And remember, take those precautions, and you can do all of the things that we talked about and stay incredibly safe and enjoy your time outdoors.
But remember, we still got a couple months to go here. Dr. Patel, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, it is a familiar headache for folks looking to score tickets to this year's hottest festivals or shows. But when we come back, well, we've got a front row seat to a scalper's latest dream scenario, charging top dollar for the summer's biggest blockbusters. We're going to explain next on Morning News Now. We are back with the battle for movie fans to score seats to the summer's biggest blockbuster films. Demand is growing for special showings at IMAX theaters for movies like The Odyssey, which is due out next week. And industry experts now warn that demand is boosting prices. Some resellers are listing premium tickets for thousands of dollars per seat to a movie. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas takes a closer look.
One of the biggest movies of the summer is just days away.
Help me go home.
But movie fans may have to go on an odyssey of their own to see it.
Keep saying error.
7 P.M.'s already sold out.
Premium seats for Christopher Nolan's eagerly anticipated new flick, The Odyssey, selling fast.
For 2 hours, I sat refreshing the page.
What if I can't?
The movie from our sister company Universal Pictures is the first film to be entirely shot with 70mm IMAX cameras. Traditional 35mm film fills a standard widescreen, while IMAX 70mm film reveals much more of the image above and below. It's a format available at only 25 theaters nationwide. So when tickets went on sale for opening weekend, it was a bloodbath.
Felt like Beyonce tickets. It was crazy for a movie.
Resellers trying to cash in on the hype, asking as much as $2,000 for tickets to early showings.
I'm not paying $500 for myself.
Similar tickets for Dune 3 also listed in the hundreds of dollars, months before its December release. IMAX tickets already cost almost $8 more than the average price for a seat in a theater.
There is so much fan demand for these premium format tickets that more than 20% of the domestic opening for some of last year's biggest movies came from IMAX sales alone.
It's a real bright spot in an industry that's had a hard past 6 years. It's changed movie making.
Erin Couch is a film editor at The Hollywood Reporter.
How important is it for movies to offer premium tickets as part of the experience?
If you are a movie studio, it is essential. You are leaving money on the table if you don't do this.
A battle for the box office, all for an epic experience at the movies. Chloe Malas, NBC News, New York.
All right, a new investment account program for children in the U.S. is officially live. They're known as Trump accounts. They launched on the nation's birthday, July 4th. For babies born between 2025 and 2028, the government will put $1,000 into eligible accounts that are designed to be tax advantaged for kids under 18. The goal is to get Americans saving earlier. A senior Treasury Department official says more than 6 million children have been signed up for Trump accounts, and more than 1 million are eligible for that $1,000 from the government. Here to talk more about this is Investopedia's editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver. Caleb, good to have you with us. So obviously we need to save money just to see a movie apparently nowadays, but help us understand how exactly these Trump accounts work. What are some of the biggest advantages?
Well, you mentioned the fact that they are for kids born between January 1st, 2025 and January 1st, 2028, effectively the president's second term here. And they do deposit the government, if you sign up for it, $1,000 into that account, and parents can match up to $5,000 a year into that account. That account is then invested in what they call low-cost index funds, which basically track the stock market and can compound over time if you continue to add to it, given the stock market's performance. This is a great way to save and get your kids started investing. And once they turn 18, they can use that money either for education if they want to use it for their college tuition, or they can use it for borrowing to buy a house or things of that nature. So it's a good head start, and it's effective as of July 4th the other day.
Are there any risks that parents should be aware of? And also just, are there alternative options out there for people who do want to start saving for their young children?
Yeah, you could start a custodial account for your child if you don't want one of these Trump accounts, but the government is seeding these accounts with $1,000. So why not take that money from the government if you have a child that fits into this age range here or that's born over the next couple of years? But if you want to do it on your own, basically a custodial account or start a Roth IRA for a child as the custodian, turn it over to them when they're 18. But this is very similar and effectively the same thing, only with that $1,000 head start and the fact that parents can match up to $5,000 a year and continue to compound and grow that account over time.
Caleb, while we have you, let's talk about some other business news. Elon Musk's SpaceX set to officially join the NASDAQ before tomorrow's opening bell. What could this mean for the stock market, both in the short term and the long term? What should investors know?
Yeah, well, specifically, it's joining the NASDAQ 100, which is an index within the NASDAQ, which is an exchange that has about 5,000 stocks in it. But the NASDAQ 100 is a group of the fastest growing stocks that are listed on the NASDAQ. And among those stocks, you'll have an Apple, a Microsoft, and NVIDIA. So it is joining that index. Typically, stocks at IPO usually have to wait a year or so or prove that they're profitable over a series of quarters to be included in indexes like the NASDAQ 100 or like some of the smaller indexes, which this stock has already been included. And so whether you wanted to own it or not, if you own the NASDAQ 100 or a proxy for it through an index fund or an exchange traded fund, you're going to own SpaceX. So it's being included very quickly into these new exchanges because they want this company's stock in their indexes. And that's what's happening as of today.
Caleb, also this week, we've got some more economic data that's coming out. What are you going to be watching out for?
Yeah, well, we're going to get a reading on weekly jobless claims like we do every single week. But given the jobs report we had for the last month, which we got out on Thursday, we only had 57,000 jobs added. And we want to see if these weekly claims start to increase, if more people are becoming laid off. I'm going to watch that pretty closely as well. We'll also get a reading on the FOMC minutes from the last Fed meeting. We're not going to hear a lot from this new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, but the minutes, the conversations that were happening in the FOMC meeting will be revealed to us on Wednesday. We already know he is targeting inflation as the Fed's primary goal here. So we're going to watch that pretty carefully as well. But this is the second half of the year and the stock market has been through a lot. We want to see if that momentum continues into the second half.
We know you'll keep an eye on it. Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Coming up, the bucket is back when Morning News Now returns. Why that viral ALS Ice Bucket Challenge from more than a decade ago now being brought back into the global spotlight by one former NFL star. That is next. Stay with us. We end this hour with a charity challenge that is making a comeback. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge is apparently now retro. It first went viral back in 2014, raising millions of dollars to fight the disease. ALS is a devastating disease that slowly deteriorates a person's ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And it currently has no cure. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson reports on the resurging Ice Bucket Challenge and the former NFL star who is bringing it back.
The Ice Bucket Challenge back in a big way.
I'm doing the ALS Challenge for my boy Chris 2K.
From NFL stars like Pac-Man Jones to Marshawn Lynch. The challenge making headlines again after it first rocketed around the internet in 2014, raising $220 million for ALS research. It comes just days after a former NFL star announced he was diagnosed with ALS. Chris Johnson, known as CJ2K, the former running back for the Tennessee Titans.
ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
That news and his call to action prompting fans like this former college basketball player to get the ball rolling.
In honor of CJ2K, I am doing the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Johnson was paying attention and asked for help, writing, "Years ago, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge united millions of people around one cause and helped change the fighting against this disease. Today, I'm asking you to help me do it again." Now his fans and community answering the call.
I challenge every Titans fan in the nation. Let's go.
The ALS Association says donations have tripled since Johnson's announcement, including many for $28 for his number, 28.
A resurgence like this is everything we want because it helps to raise awareness.
proving raising your hand and your bucket can help make a difference. Hallie Jackson, NBC News.
Looking forward to seeing more of those videos for a good cause. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.